Hello there, beds and breakfasts. Welcome to Basically Misled.
I'm Dagny.
And I'm Day.
We give advice. 50% is life-changing, 50% will leave you crying in a stairwell by the end of the day. You decide which is which.
Come procrastinate with us while we chatter endlessly about things you could probably just Google.
Today we have a special guest, Teddy. Hi, Teddy.
Hi.
What's up? My name's Teddy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You are in my program.
Sure am.
Yay. But my first question I wanted to ask you is, like, what brought you to Evergreen? Because I don't actually know this. Like, how did you
It's
come?
like kind of like a funny story. Like, so I'm a sophomore.
Okay.
But this is my first year at Evergreen. I transferred from Portland State University.
Oh, cool.
And I went to a hippy-dippy alternative high school that wasn't really a real high school. And so it did not prepare me for real college.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I took a final, it was freshman year of college, and that shit was overwhelming. And I thought Evergreen would be a good fit for me. Also because I remember one time in middle school, my counselor said I should go, but that was ages ago, so it was probably better back then. But the way Evergreen advertises themselves really is different from what it actually is. And proof of that is that they literally they are using me to advertise them right now. They took a picture of me during O Week and have been sending high schools posters to get people to come to Evergreen with my face on it. And multiple people in Portland have been like, Teddy, I saw your face today in my high school. Or my high school counselor was like, look, it's you, I got this in the mail. So they're using me to advertise their school, but I don't even want to be here. And it's they need to run me my money also, because I feel I should be getting paid if I'm being used to advertise their school. But it's just more reason as to why I'm just I'm tired of being tokenized here. I'm tired of being a poster child for diversity. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Wow, I didn't know that.
If you go on Evergreen's Facebook or Instagram, my face is on there.
I'm gonna find it now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's irritating and it's a bad picture. But also, at the beginning of the year, I was in multicultural scholars program, which is a bunch of students of color. Just it's a program for students of color to have resources to Evergreen or whatever. And the photographer at Evergreen took a lot of pictures of us, but it's very misleading because it's this is literally a program for students of color, right? And you're taking pictures of all the students of color, and it does not represent the school whatsoever. So people have come to Evergreen thinking that it's going to look one way when it's the opposite, because it's the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, I feel there isn't, I see, if I look around and in my day-to-day life, there's a lot of white people.
Yeah.
That's the majority of the people that I see.
Because you're in Olympia, Washington, which is in Washington, which is in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, even our class, which is about cultural competency.
And there's 5 students of color.
Right. Yeah.
In a room full of white students learning about cultural competency and theorizing, but having a hard time conceptualizing theories about for example, when we were learning about intersectionality, just not being able to understand it. And you're there in the corner this is literally my life. I don't understand how you don't understand how my life is. Like, you do not see me, and you don't understand the way I move through life.
And I think a lot of them, it's like their first experience even talking about different isms in culture.
Yeah. And it's like, it's frustrating because it's like, on one hand, you have to acknowledge that, like, everyone is on different levels of the spectrum of knowledge, especially when it comes to, like, issues about, like, oppression or, like, just social awareness. And you have to recognize that, like, not only are people on different levels, but sometimes people are on the different levels because of accessibility and access to academia, which is a privilege, access to resources, access to, like, vocab. And, like, you have to acknowledge all that. But at the same time, it's like, these are, like, grown-ass white people who don't understand how, like, if you're a woman of color, like, that shit's just, like, harder than if you were just, like, a person of color or a woman. Like, a white woman and a woman of color, like, live very different lives. But they don't understand that.
Yeah. Or there was one person who I think was talking about how they didn't realize that some cultures, like, expected people of that culture to marry somebody else in that culture. And that was, like, really shocking for them. And I was like, wow, okay. Because I don't live in that type of culture, but I think I was telling Dagny about it, and Dagny was like, isn't that, like, just a TV trope?
Right, that was my response.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't live it, like, it's on, like, it's in media, I guess.
Right.
That's another thing about, like, why I'm frustrated with being, like, on a poster for Evergreen. Like, Asian femmes with, like, colored streaks in their hair.
Right.
That's literally a racial trope. And, like, Asian women are literally, like, either depicted as, like, submissive and quiet and exotic, or, like, dangerous and exotic with, like, colored hair and, like, and, like, I'm literally, like, you see me, I'm an Asian femme with, like, streaks in my hair. Like, for me, like, I have to, like, I made a decision in that hair salon. I was like, I know I'm gonna be a racial trope. Like, I know, like, this is a very common stereotype. I know that, like, a lot of Asian women are depicted in media this way, but I just want to dye my hair.
Yeah.
And now there's, like, pictures of me for profit, you know? I'm not even getting part of the money. And it's, like, that's, like, things people don't have to think about. Like, how you do your hair. Like, people of color have to, like, focus on, like, their appearance every single day when you, like, walk out of the house. Like, how are people gonna see me? How, like, you know, like in Olympia, since I've moved here, like, I have been, every single time I go to Capitol Mall, I've been, like, either, like, followed the entire time I've been in the mall, or, like, threatened to be banned from the mall, and, like, kicked out of stores from the mall, and, like, accused of stealing, even though, as a person that works retail, you can't do that, you know? But, like, I'll go with my friends, hang out in the mall, and, like, that's the shit that happens. So, like, now I, like, subconsciously am like, oh, like, maybe I shouldn't take this jacket inside because I can look like I'm stealing. Maybe I should keep my hands out of my pocket so it doesn't look like I'm stealing. But it's like, I shouldn't feel scared every time I go into a fucking store, or, like, be very cautious. I'm just like, I was in Sleep Number and we got kicked out and, like, threatened to be banned from the mall. Like, first of all, you're Sleep Number. You don't have the authority to ban me from the mall.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'm not gonna fucking, like, steal a whole ass mattress. Like,
how would you do
how
that?
Would I do that? Like, why? Like, you know what? It's just, it's ridiculous.
Right. I think I am very fortunate in the aspect that I am half white. And so, I don't know. People know I am Asian. But also, I think that it can be concealed enough in some ways that, like, I don't get any of that. Either that, or I'm just completely oblivious to it.
It's, like, it's a lot of things. It's, like, like, you have to, like, also, like, acknowledge, like, racial triangulation, and also acknowledge that, like, while I'm a person of color, I am also, like, a light-skinned, non-black person of color, and I have privilege in that way, which is literally, like, life or death.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, what people don't realize about Asians is that there are different parts of Asia, and sometimes, like, I pass for East Asian, but, like, I'm not East Asian, and because I'm not East Asian, like, there's like a lot. There's a lot, you know, like, I'm Southeast Asian, and, like, I'm brown, like, you know, and even then there's a difference between Southeast Asian and South Asian, but people don't, like, realize that. So, like, I always joke about how, like, Asian people are, like, the white people of color, but really it's, like, East Asians are the white people of color, especially when you take into mind, like, the history of imperialism and colonization. Like, Japan and China, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's, like, a lot that, like, I'm always thinking about, like, yes, like, I have so many privileges, but also at the same time, I have many things that, like, are many parts of my identity that are oppressed, but also at the same, you know, like, it's complicated, and I want to die. I do not want to be alive. I don't. I'm, like, constantly thinking about, like, everything that makes it complicated, like, my identity and how I move in the world, and, like, just, like, everything, you know, like, when we talk about intersectionality, like, I'm not cis, I'm not straight, I'm not a man, I'm not white, I'm not rich, I'm not able-bodied, and, like, all these things, but also, like, I have a roof to live under, I have food to eat, I have access to, like, I have resources to access higher education, and, like, diplomas are a bougie way to systematically uphold socioeconomic oppression, which is real. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And it's, like, it's hard.
So would you say that, like, because your class is, like, talking a lot about, like, this stuff, do you think that that helps you, or do you feel like you just think about it more in a worse way because you're in a class like this compared to, like, last year? Because I don't know what you studied, like, in your freshman year. But does it make it easier or harder, I guess?
It's, like, it makes it harder, kind of, because our class is very, like, it's not even surface level. It's, like, scratching the surface.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating for me because it's, like, these are things that I know that I've been living with for years. And these people around me don't understand. So I have to deal with, like, being frustrated that, like, you can't understand, like, how intersections work. Like, it's just, like, intersections at a street they cross. Like, different parts of your identity, like, you're not just white, you know? Like, you're a woman, and you can be oppressed as a woman, but you're not oppressed for your whiteness. Like, it's not that hard to, like, conceptualize, just fucking think about it. Like, but also at the same time, it's like, I have to acknowledge that it's different for everyone. But it is frustrating. My first year of college, I took Black Studies, Indigenous Studies, Women's Studies, and Queer Studies slash Queer Theory. So, like, I do have a lot of knowledge, and, like, that is a privilege, and I'm, like, stepping into this class knowing that I have a lot of knowledge. But it's, like, it's depressing. It, like, because I'm sitting in class, like, being reminded of, like, all the parts of my identity that, like, marginalize me, and people around me don't understand or see it.
Okay, so just a little backstory about our class right now is that we are not doing traditional seminar in the sense that we aren't given a lot of space to have crosstalk. And I want to ask you, like, does it help that there isn't crosstalk, or when we do that you go to a group that maybe you can relate to more and actually have more in-depth discussions? Or have you even been able to do that? Kind of.
Like, when the whole class discussed, I don't know. English is my second language.
That's fine.
But when the whole class has discussions, like, it's, like, eye-opening because it's, like, you think someone's cool and then they, like, open their mouth and say some shit and you're like, oh, that's who you are. Like, okay. I do appreciate, like, having the caucuses.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not a lot of quote-unquote diversity. I fucking hate it when they use that word.
Yeah.
But, like, there's not enough diversity to have, like, specific caucuses. So,
right.
Like, but having the choice to choose the people you can talk to is very helpful because I, like, don't really share a lot out loud in class. And it's because of, like, a lot of things. I have social anxiety, but I also have this thing that, like, whenever I do share in class, like, people just, like, it just, like, erupts or something. Like, it's, like, for example, like, in one of my programs last quarter, I, like, shared something and it, like, derailed the entire agenda for the next week because I was, like, calling out people's privilege. And it, like... It wasn't, because we were talking about ways to decolonize, and it's an indigenous course, but there's a lot of white people in it, and we were talking about ways to decolonize, and I raised my hand, and I was like, I really don't see, like, I'm wondering how effective it really is in the process of decolonization and healing if we include the colonizers in those discussions. And then everyone was like, I didn't choose to be white, okay? I'm trying to help. And, like, it just, like, derailed it where, like, everyone started, like, like, all this white guilt came up and, like, we had to have, like, caucuses and, like, all this stuff. And it was, like, I just, like, have this, like, thing where, like, every time I do share in class, like, people don't like what I have to say. And that gives me more anxiety. And I'm like, so I'm just going to keep to myself and my little notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm, like, always writing, because I'm, like, I have a problem with what everyone says.
Right, yeah.
But I'm going to keep that shit to myself, because I have anxiety.
Tell us about your notebooks.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I was very intrigued when I heard about your notebook.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess it's a way of, like, processing my, like, emotions and frustrations. It's like journaling or whatever, but, like, I have, like, a notebook for every class, and I think I've done this, like, throughout. Yeah, I did this last year too, where, like, every time someone had to say something, or, like, someone said something that I had a problem with, like, I just would write it down, or, like, write about, like, how the class was structured, or, like, the race dynamics and discussions. Like, every time, like, I was like, I have a problem with this, I would write it down in a notebook. Because I don't feel comfortable sharing it, because, like...
I mean, it's understandable why, sometimes if people feel targeted about a subject that is already touchy, it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
I feel like... Does it help to write it all out? Like...
Yeah. 'Cause it, like, for example, like, the other class, one of our professors, like, said, for our assignment, like, the second frame, like, how can we be more inclusive? And, like, she's my favorite professor of the two, but I had a problem with how she worded it, because, like, it's really been, like, grinding my gears recently. The word inclusive, when people are like, how can we be more inclusive? Like, in my opinion, personally, I feel like when that comes up, like, either at work or in class, like, every time someone's like, how can we be more inclusive? Like, the minute you say that, you are already being exclusive because I'm not included. I'm already, like, being othered. Like, I'm not included in this conversation, in this dialogue. I feel like a better way to say, like, how can we be inclusive is, like, how are we being exclusive and how do we include the people we're excluding? Because, like, I can join in on that. I can be like, we're being exclusive in da-da-da-da-da. But, like, when people are like, how can we be more inclusive towards people of different races? I'm like, first of all, you're talking about white people, right? Like, that's white people. Yeah. How can we include people that aren't white? But I'm like, I'm not included in that statement because I'm not white. Like, what do you mean, like, we? Who is we? Like,
right.
And that's, like, a problem I have with the class, too, because it's, like, every class, like, someone's like, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to listen to people of color, we need to do this, like, we need to be more inclusive. It's like, what do you mean we need to listen to people of color? Like, I am a person of color. Like, I'm not included in this statement because I'm like, you just want me to listen to myself? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that would be really weird if you just went through everything that we talked about and we're like, how do you feel about this, Teddy?
Oh, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just like that statement is just like othering, and it automatically excludes people.
Right.
So, like, but it's like, I don't, like, have a hatred towards, like, people.
I
mean, like, okay. Like, when things, like, everyone says something that could, everyone says things, everyone's learning, including myself. And so, like, when I'm, like, writing why, like, something makes me, like, a little uncomfortable, I'm, like, this makes me uncomfortable, and then I write, like, why does this make me uncomfortable? What can happen to make me feel more comfortable? Like, it helps me process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Writing's great.
Yeah.
For me as well to process.
Yeah. Seems like an extremely healthy way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you ever look back at your notebooks and, like, read what you've written from, like, last year? Or do you kind of just let it be in the past?
Like, yes and no.
Uh-huh.
I'm the kind of person that, like, has a hard time throwing stuff away, so, like, I hold on to it. And sometimes, like, I will look through it. But, like, sometimes, like, I just like looking at, like, what's most consistent is if I look at, like, oh, this happened last quarter. Like, I have, like, I have, like, this one for one of my programs, and this one is for the program that we're in. Yeah. And, like, in the back of this, I have, like, a list of people I don't like when they talk.
Oh.
So, like, I give people nicknames.
I love that even more.
I can read you some nicknames.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to.
Please.
We have Alec Baldhead.
Okay.
We got Mr. I walk on the sides of my feet. I don't know if anyone else wakes up to the sun, dumbass type shit. We have the bitch who drinks too much damn coffee and has one extra seat in her van and has a bush friend. Like, she has a bush friend. Like, she wrote a song about her bush friend.
What does that mean?
She has a talking bush friend. Like,
wait, what?
Like, it's a bush that she talks to, and she wrote a song about it and, like, presented about it, and I was like, okay.
Wow. That's fun. Yeah. That's evergreen for you.
We have Miss I Don't Have White Privilege, purple cast, orange glasses looking ass. We have the bitch who always looks concerned. We got My Culture is Sports, hung out with the homies motherfucker who doesn't know that being very Swedish is his culture. The weird ass white boy who doesn't dress his age and has a Chinese girlfriend he wanted me to know he had.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's just like, it's like some of it is quotes, like I heard these people say those things, and like, I just associate with you with that one thing you said that one time, because it was just like, what the fuck?
I mean, yeah, there's people in our class that I think of them a certain way now because of, like, one thing they've said.
Yeah.
Or multiple things they say all the time. Yeah.
Like, I have, like, the president of the vegan club. Got a lot of comments about her. We got off-brand Donnie Darko.
Oh my gosh. You're gonna have to tell me who these people are afterwards.
We got hipster Velma. Like, I just...
Yeah.
These are some very creative names.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have, like, that one guy that says we all bleed red and breathe the same air.
I haven't heard that person speak. I don't know. I need to start writing some fun nicknames now about
I, like,
people.
literally...
I don't know if they can really compete with these
can't.
so maybe you need a different group of people to write
Well, yeah, no,
about.
like, next... Maybe, like, about my internship. Yeah.
It's not really appropriate day, really keeping it professional.
I don't have to be professional off-site. Okay.
Yeah, I also have, like, sections of notes that literally is called, like, notes about how annoying this class is.
Yeah.
Notes about how I fucking can't stand this class. Notes to help me stay awake. Like, it's literally, like, I, like, organize my notes. Like, by, like, things I actually need to take notes on, but also, like, things that, like, irritate the fuck out of me.
Yeah. I don't know. Because I feel like you writing in your notebook before I knew this is what you were writing, I was just like, wow, like, they just, like, actually are writing notes. Like, week 7, my only notes for that for that Thursday was Skype is not secure. That's from, like, a 3-hour class that that's the only thing I got out of it. And, like, I already knew that, but my teacher said it, like, 10 times. Just, like, writing that down, I guess. But, yeah.
No.
You just vent in class, which is probably better, because I always have to come home and then just tell it to Dagny. And some of it, Dagny's like, okay, like, I understand where you're coming from, but also I think some of the stuff, she's just like, Day, how is that, like, bad?
It's, like, contextual.
Right. I've thought about, like, bringing her. Yeah. I thought about bringing her to my class so she could feel my frustration, but I think that's, like, too far.
Yeah. I mean, what's fucked up is that, like, I literally, like, to get to the class, like, through the class, I need to write notes, and I need to not be sober.
Yeah.
Like, for my sanity.
Right.
Like, I can't not talk about, like, I can't not write down why, like, for example, saying that you think white people are oppressed. Like, I have a problem when you say shit like that. Like,
I have a problem with that.
I have a problem with, like, you saying that, like, something about, like, Parkland shootings. Like, I will write that down, because I can't just, like, be like, shut up. Like, you know?
Right.
But I can write shut up. And, like, I've literally been, like, high or drunk, like, every single class, and that's not healthy. Like, yeah, like, it's all fun and games, and it's, like, funny to, like, laugh about how, like, I'm always high, but, like, for my sanity, I cannot be sober in that class. Like, I tried it once, and, like, it was too much. Like, it's already, like, I already have, like, a lot on my plate. I'm, like, dealing with a lot of stuff, and, like, I can't not be high in that class. Like,
yeah.
Because, like, then I can, like, laugh to myself about random ass shit and, like, laugh with, like, people I'm sitting around. That makes it fun. But, like, I need to be high. Like, and that's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd probably be a lot calmer for me if I just wasn't sober.
Yeah. Like.
But, yeah. Oh, gosh.
It makes things, like, really, like, funny sometimes, or, like, you just be not in it. Like, you're not, like
it's not full-on reality.
Yeah.
So it's okay that they say these types of things.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought, I just thought about this, and you really shouldn't do this because it'd be kind of cruel, but have you ever thought about, at the end of the quarter, taking all the notes you have with issues of certain people, transcribing them, and then just giving them to it? like the person at the end and be like,
I've never thought about that, but that's a great idea.
Be like, here, educate yourself.
Here you go. Remember week 2, day 4 when you were like,
at this time when you said this shit.
Here you go.
Yeah.
I remember.
Right. Yeah, I think that might be a little too much, but
I mean, it's nice.
I'd be into it.
I've, like, talked a little bit about my frustrations with, like, the paper that we did. Like, I was, like, talking about different... I don't even remember what the term is called, but, like, ways of, like, processing. And I was like, yeah, like, I guess, like, I was more holistic thinking, but now I'm more linear. But I don't see that as a bad thing because we shouldn't view it as, like, a dichotomy. It's not like it's a bad way of thinking. I just, like, it's frustrating to be in a class full of white people who don't understand you and who, like, are there for, like, cultural competency but commit acts of violence every time we are in class. Like, that shit's frustrating. And for me to think that you... like, to be frustrated with how you think and, like, me seeing you as, like, a person I don't like because you say these things, like, that's not bad. You know, like, being more linear than holistic is not bad. It's for my safety. Like, if I just, like, hear the shit that you say, I can, like, then be like, okay, you're not a person that I can, like, go to.
Yeah. Right. And that's
not
good
bad.
to know.
Yeah, like
that's really good to know because,
like, I understand people are learning and, like, people say things all the time and, like, I'm very different than, like, who I was from 5 years ago. But, like, 5 years ago, I was not a person that I myself could go to. Yeah, you know, and that's okay.
Right. We're all growing.
Right.
And some people are still
who you choose
seeds.
To grow around, like, really.
Yeah.
It also, like, impacts your growth. Like, you shouldn't stunt yourself from growing for the growth of others. Like, you shouldn't put your growth on pause and, like, use labor to educate those around you if it's not worth the labor putting into.
Right, yeah.
If it's not reciprocal, then, like, it's not worth it. And that's how I am. It's like, if you're not giving me, like, equal amount of labor and, like, compassion... and being reciprocal in this relationship, then it's not worth my time.
Yeah. And
because I can't take it anymore. Like, I'm going crazy.
Be the person to, like, educate them all the time. Yeah. Which is something we've been talking about in class and, like,
but
why.
It's also hard. Okay. For example, like that's been my mindset for the last few years, but now it's, like, being tested. Right. At work.
Okay.
So... like, for the last few years, I've been like, yeah, like, if I feel like I don't need to educate you, then I don't have to, because, like, it isn't my job to educate people. It isn't my job to put additional emotional labor into, like, the learning of others if it brings me harm. Like, that's how I've been living life. But right now, I'm at this point in my job where, like, my job is, like, one of the very few places I feel is, like, safe for me to work in Olympia. But at the same time, it's still racist. And it still perpetuates, like, stereotypes. And it still requires, like, it puts a lot of labor on their workers of color. And it's, like, frustrating. And I don't want to deal with that. But it's, like... potentially, like, it has the potential to be a safe space for me. So I'm at this point where I'm like, yeah, it's not my job to educate others if I'm not getting paid. But at the same time, like, I need to put in the work to make it safer for me, the people around me, and those to come. So I'm just, but it's, like, frustrating because it's like, I don't need to be doing this. I could literally just be doing anything else, working retail, whatever, and, like, not be dealing with, like, the fact that, like, my work is falling apart. Like, I don't have to deal with it. Yeah. But I want to make it better for myself and the people around me. And, like, that's a pattern that reoccurs a lot, because it's like, if you look at every movement, if you look at everything, it's been women of color that put in the work, that put in the labor, that put in the effort, that are at the front lines, behind the scenes, like, everything, like, gay liberation movement, like, civil rights movement, like, every movement, like, it's women of color, like, doing a lot of fucking emotional labor to keep that shit going.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where I am right now, where I'm like, yeah, it's fucked up that, like, I need to do a lot more work than my coworkers, and it's frustrating to be paid the same amount but doing more work. But, like, if I want to keep it going, like, I kind of need to put in more work, because they don't care, and they, like, have the privilege of, like, just being like, this isn't something I need to worry about. And it's, like, also frustrating that, like, people don't see why it's frustrating.
Yeah. Okay, so with all of this frustration, yeah. Do you need a pillow? Well, you don't need a pillow. You could just scream if you wanted to.
I'm fine.
And, like, I guess this is going off of, like, what you kind of already are doing, but what do you wish people could do to make you and others of color, like, more comfortable? Like, is there any little things besides just educating themselves? Or, I mean, educating themselves is, like, the most important thing, I think, because it's how you learn. But, like, in class or...
This is definitely, like, a question that I feel like is asked a lot and has been asked for a very long time.
Right.
And it's like, first of all, you need to acknowledge that there is a problem. You need to acknowledge that this country was built on genocide, on slavery, like, on literally, like, exploiting and murdering brown and black bodies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, because it was built on these things, because it was built on, like, capitalism and sexism and misogynoir, like, it's kind of working the way it's supposed to. It's working the way it was built.
Yeah.
Like, you can't change that. And it's like, can you really change a system that was literally, like, set up this way?
Yeah.
It was set up this way. It was built this way.
We just need to start over.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't just, like, fix a system that literally is working the way it's supposed to. You need to dismantle it completely and start over. So then it's like, how do we dismantle it and start over? And it's like, because of intersectionality, like, race plays into all of it, because this country was built on racism.
Right.
So race, I believe strongly, like, I'm one of those bitches, like, race plays into everything. Like, the way you looked at me, like, when I'm crossing the street, just everything. Like, race plays into everything. And at the same time, you can't separate race from anything. Because of intersectionality, I don't think you can separate race from class. I don't think you can separate, like, race from gender. While, like, when people are like, what's the identity that you feel like is the most marginalized? Like, yeah, race, but also, like, my other identities, like, everything's intersection. Like, everything's, you can't just separate. You can't just pick one. So it's like, I don't think you can just, like, fix classism. You can't just fix racism. You can't just fix sexism. You need a solution that fixes all of it at the same time, because you can't separate them from each other. But how do you do that? And what does that look like?
Right.
Fuck if I know. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be alive to see that.
Yeah, I think what should happen is we just let global warming take its course, kill all of us off.
But also at the same, but at the same time, it's like, the reason why global warming is, like, global warming itself, like, you need to also talk about the racism in global warming. Right. Like, who, like, islands literally being swallowed by oceans, like, people who, like, it...
Who will become, like, environmental refugees. Right. And, like, have no place to go.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like maybe if, like, one type of people didn't fucking murder the fucking part of the world that, like, knew how to take care of it, maybe we wouldn't have to deal with global warming. Like, right. Why, like, yeah. Because, you know, like, if you're from the land, you know how to take care of it. Mm-hmm. So why aren't we why aren't we turning to indigenous people for resources? But also at the same time, they do have resources. Why aren't we, like...
Utilizing them?
Utilizing them.
Because that would put them in power. And our system doesn't like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, like, the whole, like, fucking... English is... the... What's the word that's, like... fault? I don't know. Okay. Like, fault is put on consumers. Mm-hmm. But it's, like, it's not the consumer's fault because it's, like, if I recycle my boxes, like, it's not going to change the fact that corporations are literally, like, polluting the earth, literally, like, polluting, like, wasting food and then polluting that food so that people can't access it. Like, right. It's not, like, it's not it's the whole, like, reduce, reuse, recycle thing is framed so that it looks like it's the consumer's fault. Like, maybe if we just all, like, were vegan and recycled everything, it would be better. But it's like, that's not the case. Mm-mm. It's, I mean, literally corporations.
As it is now, our recycling used to all go to China, and China's not accepting it anymore. So, like, recycling is just being moved to other Asian countries, maybe, if they'll take it.
But also, like, why are we giving our trash to other countries?
Right. Yeah. Or just, like, putting it in the ocean, not near us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like that's what people do naturally. I think all people do that. All people are screwy and they want to screw each other.
Right. I mean, I put my trash in Dagny's car, like, instead of taking it out.
But also at the same time, it's like, yeah, like, while all people, like, people screw each other over, it's like, who has power? And who, like, what, like, there's more impact if, like, a person in power screws another person over that doesn't have as much power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's something that, like, you need to, like, also realize.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's difficult because I don't know, I feel like anyone given, like, a certain type of power will behave in probably not a good way. And it, like, doesn't even matter who you are. I just think it's, like, time with power. Like, because I think it's, I don't know, I think it's easy to forget, I guess. Just because that's how it seems to be. Not because, I don't know, but I just feel like, why is it, like, so consistent? Because you just, like, forget. I mean, because people just adjust to their current situation and so fast.
That's also, like a mindset that, like, the mindset that, like, that's just how things are. That's the way things have always been. Like, that's, like, a distracting, like, mindset. Because it's like, yeah, maybe I, like, don't have the same rights as people around me. But that's just the way things are. I guess I just gotta focus on surviving. Like, you can't change anything if you just, like, are distracted by the fact that, like, that's just the way things are.
Yeah. On that fun note, let's end this podcast before we all just
dive into hopelessness.
Yeah.
That's literally where I am right now. And it's hard. Like, yeah. Not only, like, having depression, but also, like with the class, like, Kimberly Crenshaw, like, was like, there people who exist in, like, intersecting identities are left behind. Like, hearing it, you're just like, oh, like, I knew that, but you just told me. Like,
right.
You just reminded me that, like, you know, like, it's depressing. Like, and it's hard to want to be alive. Like, I'm so focused on, like, trying to survive that, like, but I don't even want to be alive at all. And it's really hard. Yeah. It's like, if I just had, like, one thing changed about me, things would be so much better, so much easier, you know, like, but I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you really don't, like, want to be in your class. Are you staying at Evergreen, like, after this year?
Yeah.
Or?
I think I am, because, like, I already transferred once, and, like, I don't want it to be obvious to my family that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Mm-hmm. If I'm a double transfer, there's, like, definitely a way people view double transfers. Yeah. And so I'm scared of that. Also, like, I just need to get the degree, you know? And, like, there are credits at Evergreen that I like that make it difficult to transfer to other colleges, because sometimes if they do accept it, it's elective, and it's like, how is it elective? Da 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 da.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, I wasn't born here. I didn't even ask to be born. Like, we just moved to the Pacific Northwest, and, like, I had to get out of Portland because my neighborhood was, like, being impacted by gentrification, and it was really hard for me to, like, be stagnant in one spot and watch everything around me change. Like, I had to get out. But also at the same time, the place that I chose to get out, I feel like I don't belong either. So it's like, where can I feel like I belong? Can I feel like I even belong in this country? Because it's literally like, the system is like built to destroy you and dismantle you. Like, it's not even to the point where it's like, yeah, it wasn't built for me to succeed. It's like literally built to destroy you. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think the first step you should do is to get your face off of those admissions pamphlets.
Who do I talk to about that? Like, first of all, I want my money for it. Second of all, I want it off.
Talk to admissions.
Yeah, it's admissions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us.
Yeah.
And
thank
all
you.
Of your insights and experiences.
Especially on this, like, really struggling and frustrating topic, which you probably have to talk about a lot.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Okay, so our question for today is, remember when our ducks flew east? That was a fun time.
Yep, you can find us on Google Play, Spotify, CastBox, Messy, and YouTube. Just search Basically Misled.
If you want to email us, maybe tell us your frustrations or hopelessness or despair, or if you have solutions, also, we'll take those. Just email us at basicallymisled@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your future endeavors.